Dr. Natasha Layton. I'm an occupational therapist from Swinburne University, talking about what it is to drive when you're living with the effects of polio and some of the options on the market for you. So, driving a car is really important to lots of people. It's a great freedom to have, to be able to get in the car and drive, and of course over the course of your day, if you compare that to taking public transport or having to get around on foot, it can be a real help in terms of energy conservation and simplifying your life. But driving and maintaining a licence can be difficult when you're living with the effects of any condition, and polio is no exception. The licence holder needs to know if there's a medical condition that you're living with and whether that might be likely to affect your driving. Plenty of people are driving with modified vehicles or driving vehicles that have been selected to be really suitable for them. Not all of those things need to be recorded on a licence, but some of them do. Thinking about the vehicles we drive, sometimes having very minor modifications made to that vehicle, for example making sure you buy one with a seat that you don't have to drop down onto or struggle up out of, can be helpful. If you're not at the point of buying a new car, then you might just put a seat lift in, and those sort of pieces of equipment can be bought from pharmacists or chemists or found on the National Equipment Database. There's a little handle that you can just clamp onto the door frame as you get in and out to give yourself some leverage. Those sort of things can be very handy and are easily done. People who use a wheelchair or a scooter in conjunction with their car might use a boot lift. So there's a small lift that can be installed in the boot of your car. You open the boot and that will actually winch your wheelchair or your scooter in. Other people use a small trailer that comes along behind the car to drive their wheelchair or scooter up onto. Clearly, if you do that, you need to still be able to then walk to the front door to get into the car. Other options come with newer cars these days. So automatic cars, you're not having to change gears. Push button unlock and starting the car can be very helpful, not having to pull on and off a handbrake, but use a button handbrake. Those sort of things can just change the workload that the car is asking of you. There are some modifications that can be made to how you drive the car, and that's really where vehicle modifications comes into its own. Some of these are funded by the state and territory government funding schemes as well. Examples include clamping a spinner knob onto the wheel of the steering wheel of the car, so that instead of feeding the wheel through your hands and having to lift your arms against gravity, you're able to actually guide the wheel quite strongly with the movement of one arm. People sometimes also have hand controls that mean you don't have to use your legs to use the pedals. So there are some specialist engineering facilities that will install hand controls and that are accredited to do so that that's safe, and that is something that you would have recorded on your licence. Seeing an occupational therapist who's trained in driving assessment is a good way to work out what will work for you. And at times a driving assessment is needed so that VicRoads can have assurance and medical insurance that you're safe and fit to drive, and that would involve an occupational therapy driving assessor being in the car with you with a driving instructor, and you have a lesson and you go for your licence and you get those modifications identified on your licence and off you go.